Welcome back to the channel. Today we dive into one of the most legendary war epics ever made, Troy, a story born from ancient myth where love, pride, betrayal, and destiny collide on the battlefield of gods and men. In this video, we'll break down how a single act of passion ignites a massive war between kingdoms, leading to the rise of legendary warriors, unstoppable armies, and one of the most iconic battles in cinematic history. The Trojan War. From the fierce rage of Achilles to the tragic fate of Troy, we'll explore every major twist, hidden detail, and emotional moment that made this movie unforgettable. So sit back, because this isn't just a war, it's a story of honor, obsession, and the price of glory. Let's get into it. At the beginning of the story, we are introduced to a powerful king named Agamemnon. He was known for his immense strength and dominance. One day, Agamemnon marches into the borders of another kingdom with his massive army. Seeing this, the king of that land steps forward with his own forces to confront him. When the two kings come face to face, the opposing king says, "Withdraw your army from my land. I do not wish to go to war with you. You cannot conquer the entire world." Agamemnon calmly replies, "Many kings have said the same thing to me before, but today they all fight under my command." He then proposes an alternative. "Let's settle this the old way. Instead of a full-scale war, our two best warriors will fight. Whoever wins will decide the outcome of this battle. If your warrior wins, I will leave with my army by tomorrow morning. But if my warrior wins, you may keep your kingdom. However, whenever I call for war, you must join me with your army." Hearing this, the king agrees and immediately summons his greatest warrior. Soon, a giant man named Boagrius steps forward, nearly 8 feet tall, broad and intimidating. Agamemnon then calls out the name of his own champion, Achilles. From within the crowd, Achilles emerges. Without hesitation, he charges forward and with a single strike, kills Boagrius instantly. Standing before the army, Achilles shouts, "Is there anyone else who dares to fight me?" But no one from the opposing side has the courage to step forward. Defeated, the king hands over his royal scepter to Achilles, surrendering his authority. However, Achilles rejects it and says, "He is not my king." In the next scene, we are introduced to the kingdom of Troy. The king of Troy had 2 sons, Hector and Paris. Hector was one of the greatest warriors of Troy, just as Achilles was for Greece. At this time, Hector and Paris had traveled to Sparta. For a long time, Sparta had been surrounded by conflicts and wars, but now they were extending a hand of friendship. The people of Sparta welcomed them warmly. The king of Sparta was Menelaus, Agamemnon's own younger brother. Menelaus's wife, Helen, was extraordinarily beautiful. During their stay, Paris, Hector's younger brother, becomes completely captivated by her. Before long, the two fall deeply in love. The next day, as Hector and Paris are sailing back to Troy, Paris reveals something shocking, something Hector had no idea about. Paris has secretly taken Helen with him onto the ship. He tells Hector, "I love her. That's why I brought her with me." Hearing this, Hector becomes furious. He knows very well that betraying Sparta in such a way could lead to devastating consequences. Hector orders, "Turn the ship around. We will return Helen to Sparta immediately." But Paris refuses. He says, "If you leave her behind, then I will stay in Sparta too. They will kill me, but I cannot live without her." Faced with his younger brother's stubborn determination, Hector finally gives in, and so they continue their journey back to Troy with Helen. On the other side, King Menelaus rushes to his brother Agamemnon. He says, "Brother, they didn't just steal my wife. They have insulted our kingdom. They have insulted all of Greece. I want war. Will you stand with me?" Agamemnon replies, "Yes, of course. I will stand with you." In truth, Agamemnon had long dreamed of conquering Troy, and now he finally had the perfect opportunity to make that dream a reality. However, there is one complication. Achilles does not want to join the war. He no longer wishes to fight under Agamemnon. Later that night, while Agamemnon is discussing war strategies with his companions, one of them, Odysseus, says, "We will need Achilles for this war." Agamemnon responds, "There is no need to bring Achilles into this. He cannot be controlled. Instead of fighting the Trojans, he might end up fighting us." Odysseus insists, "This will be a war like no other, greater than anything we've ever seen. We need a warrior of unmatched skill, and Achilles is born to be one." Agamemnon admits, "Yes, I know that very well." Finally, he agrees and sends Odysseus to bring Achilles. When Odysseus meets Achilles, he tells him, "The people of Troy have insulted us. We welcomed them with honor, yet they repaid us by stealing the queen of our kingdom. This is a great insult to all of us, and now we must take our revenge." Achilles replies, "That is an insult to the king of your land, not to me." Odysseus then tries to convince him, saying, "This will be a war like no other. The warriors who fight in it will be remembered for thousands of years." Achilles had always desired exactly that, to have his name remembered for as long as the world exists. He doesn't give Odysseus an answer right away. Instead, he goes to see his mother. It's important to know that Achilles' mother was a goddess. When he was born, she held him by his heel and dipped him into sacred water. As a result, his entire body became invulnerable, except for that small part of his heel where she held him. When Achilles meets his mother, she says, "I know they have come to call you to war. If you do not go and stay here with me, you will have a beautiful wife. You will have children, and your children will have children. You will be loved, but in time, your name will be forgotten." She continues, "But if you go to Troy, your name will be remembered for as long as the world exists. However, if you go, you will never return. I will never see you again." Achilles asks, "Mother, will what you say truly happen?" She replies, "Yes, I know this is your fate." Even after hearing this, Achilles chooses to go to war because he wants his name to live on in history forever. Soon, thousands of ships set sail across the sea toward the empire of Troy. Meanwhile, when Hector returns to Troy, he tells his father, "We should return Helen immediately." But his father, King Priam, says, "Your younger brother truly loves her, and Helen, in return, is changing him for the better. You already know that Agamemnon has wanted to conquer Troy for years. If they attack us, we may not win this war." Then the king adds confidently, "The walls of Troy are incredibly high. No one has ever been able to breach them." In fact, Troy's walls were so massive that despite countless wars, no enemy had ever managed to break through them and enter the city. On the other side, as Agamemnon and his forces look out over the sea, they notice a single ship far ahead of the rest. Someone shouts, "Who is that?" Another replies, "That's Achilles." Agamemnon wonders, what is he planning? Before long, Achilles' ship reaches Troy first. Without hesitation, he launches a fierce attack. There, they come across a temple of the god Apollo. Achilles and his men loot the temple, kill the priests, and destroy it completely. Every woman they find there is taken captive, and just then, Hector steps forward to face Achilles. By this point, many of Hector's men had already been killed. Although Achilles had his own warriors with him, he chooses not to kill Hector. Instead, he says, "Our fight will happen tomorrow. Go home for now." And with that, he lets Hector leave. Later, when Achilles returns to his tent, he notices a young woman being held captive. His men tell him that they brought her from the temple of Apollo. She turns out to be a member of Troy's royal family. The girl confronts him, saying, "Why did you kill the priests of our temple?" Achilles replies, "I have killed many men, but none of them were priests." She insists, "Your men did it, and mark my words, the god Apollo will punish all of you." Achilles responds coldly, "Then tell your god, what is he waiting for?" "The right time," she answers. Achilles smirks and says, "His priests are dead. His servants are now our prisoners. What right time is he waiting for?" Then he asks, "Are you afraid?" She replies, "Everyone should be." Achilles says, "You have nothing to fear. You are safe here." Just then, one of his men arrives with a message. King Agamemnon has summoned him to celebrate their victory. Achilles heads there. Agamemnon greets him and says, "Do you think this victory belongs to you? People always remember the king." Achilles replies sharply, "When my men and I captured the shores of Troy, the king was far away, out at sea on his ship." Agamemnon then brings up the temple, saying, "Your men looted the temple of Apollo." Achilles responds, "Take whatever you want from the spoils. Consider it a gift from me." Agamemnon coldly replies, "I already have." He signals his men, and they bring forward the same girl, the one Achilles had promised would be safe. Instantly, Achilles draws his sword and points it at Agamemnon's soldiers. "If you want to return home alive," he warns, "let her go." At that moment, the girl speaks up. "So many have died today. I don't want more bloodshed because of me." Hearing this, Achilles falls silent. The next day, Odysseus comes to Achilles. Achilles had his own elite warriors, men who fought only for him, the finest fighters of their land. They ask him, "When do we go to battle?" Achilles replies firmly, "None of us will fight. We are not going to this war." Meanwhile, on the battlefield, Hector and Paris arrive with their army. On the other side, Agamemnon and his brother Menelaus also prepare for war with their forces. Paris steps forward and says to Menelaus, "This war is because of Helen. I love her, and you want her too. So let's settle this, just you and me. We fight, and the winner takes Helen. This single battle will end the war." But Agamemnon has no interest in such a deal, because he hasn't come just to take back his brother's wife. He has come to conquer Troy. Menelaus leans toward his older brother, Agamemnon, and whispers, "Let me fight him first. I'll kill him, and then you can attack Troy. The city will fall, and I'll have my revenge." Soon, a fierce battle begins between Paris and Menelaus. Paris is no match for him, and just when Menelaus is about to kill Paris, Hector suddenly steps in and kills Menelaus instead. Seeing this, Agamemnon is consumed with rage. Without hesitation, he declares full-scale war. But on this day, Achilles and his elite warriors are absent. As a result, the Greek army is significantly weakened. They struggle to stand against the Trojans, and many of their greatest fighters are killed on the battlefield. Later, Odysseus and the other commanders gather for a meeting. They all agree, if we want to win this war, we need Achilles. Without him, victory is impossible. Agamemnon admits, "No matter how much I beg him now, he won't listen to me." Then he adds, "That girl, I haven't even touched her. I handed her over to my soldiers." Outside, it becomes clear what that means. Several soldiers are trying to force themselves on the girl. At that very moment, Achilles arrives. He kills one of the soldiers instantly, lifts the girl into his arms, and takes her back to his tent. Inside the tent, the girl asks him, "Why did you choose the life of a warrior? There is no happiness in war, only blood and suffering." Achilles replies, "I didn't choose this life. I've been fighting ever since I was old enough to stand." Then he asks her, "You're from a royal family. Why would you give up all your comfort and dedicate yourself to the gods?" The girl responds, "What can I say about the gods? They kill humans with their own hands and make beds from their skin. I don't understand everything. I only know that we must respect them." That night, Achilles falls asleep in his tent. Later, when the girl sees that he's asleep, she quietly picks up a knife and holds it to his throat. Without even opening his eyes, Achilles says, "Go ahead, kill me." She hesitates and says, "If I don't kill you, you'll kill many more people." Achilles calmly replies, "Yes, I will." But even after everything, she cannot bring herself to kill him. Instead, a strange bond forms between them. That night, they grow close, both physically and emotionally, and begin to develop feelings for each other. The next day, Achilles makes a firm decision. He will no longer fight. He prepares to leave the war behind, because that very night, the Trojans launched a surprise attack on the Greek camp, something that completely violated the rules of war. Even Hector himself was not in favor of such an act. But that night, no one listens to Hector. Under the cover of darkness, the Trojan army launches a surprise assault, raining down fireballs and arrows upon the Greek camp. Among the Greeks, Achilles had come to war with his cousin, a young man who deeply admired him and even resembled him closely. Watching the army retreat and abandon the fight fills him with anger. He cannot bear to see his people die while they run away. The pain and frustration push him toward one decision: revenge. So he puts on Achilles' armor, shield, and sword. Then he rallies Achilles' soldiers and says, "Let's go to battle." The soldiers, seeing him in Achilles' armor, believe it's truly Achilles himself. Inspired, they follow him into the battlefield. Charging ahead, Achilles' cousin soon comes face to face with Hector. Mistaking him for Achilles, Hector engages in a brutal fight. After a long and fierce battle, Hector finally kills him. But when Hector removes the helmet, he realizes the truth. This is not Achilles. It is his cousin. On the other side, when Achilles hears that Hector has killed his cousin, he is consumed by uncontrollable rage. The next morning, he marches alone to the massive walls of Troy and shouts, challenging Hector to come out and fight him. Hearing his call, Hector steps forward to face him. Before the battle begins, Hector says, "Let's make an agreement. No matter who wins, the victor will honor the fallen and return the body to his family." Achilles replies coldly, "There can be no agreement between a lion and a man." And then the two warriors clash. A terrifying battle unfolds. Both are wounded, both push beyond their limits. But in the end, Achilles kills Hector. Even after his death, Achilles shows no mercy. He ties Hector's lifeless body to the back of his chariot and drags it all the way to his camp. Watching this, the people of Troy are heartbroken. They all loved Hector, not just as a warrior, but as a good and noble man. That very night, King Priam secretly enters Achilles' camp in disguise. Standing before him, he says, "I ask only this. Let us give my son the honor he deserves. He was a warrior and he was loved. He deserves dignity, even in death." Achilles responds harshly, "Old man, leave now. I could kill you where you stand." But Priam calmly replies, "A father who has lost his son, do you think he still fears death?" They speak for a long time, and in the end, something changes within Achilles. He finally agrees and returns Hector's body to his father. At that moment, Briseis, the girl who had grown to love Achilles and who was also Hector's cousin, arrives there. Seeing her, the king says in surprise, "We thought you were dead." Anyway, Achilles now sets the girl free as well. He tells her, "If you want, you can go with the king." At the same time, Achilles declares that he will not attack Troy for the next 12 days. Hearing this, Agamemnon becomes furious, but Odysseus steps in and says, "Don't lose your temper. Hector may be dead, but we still cannot break through those massive walls of Troy." Being a clever and experienced strategist, Odysseus comes up with a plan. He orders the construction of a Vishal wooden horse. The Greek army leaves this giant horse standing on the shores of Troy, and then disappears, going into hiding. Since Achilles had given his word, there is no attack for 12 days. Everything remains silent. After those 12 days, when the Trojans finally come out, they see no ships, no soldiers, only a massive wooden horse standing alone on the beach. Around it lie several dead bodies, victims of a deadly plague. Seeing this, the Trojans believe that because the Greeks had disrespected the temple of Apollo, the god has punished them with the plague. Paris and his commanders suggest, "We should burn this horse. Bringing it inside would be a mistake." But a priest from the temple objects, saying, "No, that would be wrong. The horse is a symbol of peace. It is also sacred to Poseidon, the god of the sea. We should take it into the temple." In the end, they decide to bring the horse inside the city walls. The Trojans celebrate with joy, believing the war is finally over. They begin a grand festival, convinced they have won. Night falls, and inside the belly of the wooden horse, Achilles and his warriors are hiding. As the night grows deeper and the city falls asleep, they quietly emerge from the horse. They move swiftly and open the main gates of Troy from within. Seeing the gates open, Agamemnon and the entire Greek army storm into the city. What follows is pure destruction. Homes are set on fire. The city is torn apart. Women and children are slaughtered without mercy. King Priam is captured, and Agamemnon kills him on the spot. Moments later, Agamemnon sees Briseis, the cousin of Hector, the woman Achilles had come to love, sitting beneath a statue, praying. He walks up behind her and grabs her. Agamemnon says, "I want to experience what Achilles had." But in that very moment, Briseis pulls out a knife and drives it into Agamemnon's neck. Agamemnon dies instantly. His two bodyguards rush forward to kill her, but just then Achilles arrives. He kills both of them without hesitation. Briseis, wounded, collapses to the ground, and Achilles rushes to her, trying to lift her up. But at that very moment, Hector's younger brother Paris arrives. From a distance, he spots Achilles and immediately begins firing arrows. One of the arrows strikes Achilles Priam in the heel. Although Achilles' entire body was invulnerable, his heel was his only weak spot. As the arrow hits, a wave of intense pain surges through him. He cries out, but even then, he refuses to fall. Like a true warrior, he grips his sword and charges toward Paris. But Paris keeps his distance and fires again. 4 more arrows pierce into Achilles. Finally, Achilles drops to his knees. Briseis desperately begs Paris to stop, pleading with him not to kill Achilles. But Paris doesn't listen. He walks closer. In his final moments, Achilles looks at Briseis and says, "Go, leave this place. Troy is about to fall." Briseis doesn't want to leave him. She has fallen in love with him, but she has no choice. And after she leaves, Achilles collapses and dies there on the battlefield. Thus falls one of the greatest warriors in history. After the war, everyone stands before Achilles' lifeless body, paying their respects. In the end, we see his funeral pyre being lit, and from afar, Briseis watches the smoke rise into the sky. With that, the story comes to an end.